symbolize a special meaning. This one here, these flanges on the sides are so that the spirit of the mask can animate, take flight, and this one here chases out any evil demons that's in or around. Okay? Okay. And this is the Sigu style with the face that's curved forward. Now what I did is I did a couple of pieces of the Bambara. They believe that God gave the spirit Chiwara to them. Looking at that, and kids don't know nothing about that. So they was asking me, how come that man ain't got no clothes on? I said, because when they put you on the auction block, they make you take off your clothes. He said, I said, yeah. They didn't believe it. So I'm trying to explain to them that this is our history. And this is things that had happened to us historically, and you don't know anything about it because nobody talks about it. Amen. And the reason I do the work that I do, and I focus a lot on our history and slavery, is because so the children can question it, and they can know this stuff. So they won't be shocked when they see a movie like Roots. I remember when I was in Fresno, Roots came out, and I went to the liquor store, and there was a cab driver that drove up in the neighborhood, and all these young men went over there and they got to beating him. Pulled him out of the cab and they were beating him. And I ran over there and said, what y'all doing? He was beating this man, Roots, Roots, Roots. And I pulled him off the man. I said, what are you guys doing? Didn't you see Roots? I said, yeah, I saw Roots. But that's history, you know. What are you beating that man? He had nothing to do with that.
That's right.
They said, but he's white. I said, that ain't got nothing to do with it. That's history. And you got to understand that that's history. So I feel like this. If we give our children history truthfully, when they find out about things like Roots or something like that, they won't be shocked to the point where they get emotional and react physically and violent to individuals who had nothing to do with that. And I was walking by the bronze casters, and I was watching them, and I asked them, could I do one? And they said, they looked at me like, you African Americans, y'all don't know how to do nothing. And I said, no, I said, I really want to make one. They looked at me like I was crazy. So I said, look, man, come on now. I want you to show me how to do this. He says, okay, but you're going to have to pay for the wax. Because he thought I was going to get some wax and just mess it up. So I got the wax, and I started sitting there, and I was working. About 45 minutes, I had completed that in wax. But in the time I was working on it, everybody started looking. Next thing I know, was 500 people standing around that little shop watching me, making that send me to my daddy like they always do. So you send me to St. Louis so my daddy ain't seen me since I was 3. So I go to St. Louis and he's supposed to straighten me out, right? So he had this old friend named Mr. Nappy Chin. And he was 80-something years old. And I used to sit out, and I'd sit out with him in the morning and drink coffee. So one day we were sitting out there drinking coffee, and a guy came downstairs, and he went to start his car, but it wouldn't start. Somebody had stole his battery. So he goes to the store and gets a battery, and he comes back with a lock and a chain. So he's putting it on the hood of his car. So Mr. Nappy Chin gets up, and he walks out there to the street with his cane. And he starts yelling at this man and cussing at him. And I got scared, and I backed up, and I said, Daddy, what's wrong with Mr. Nappy Chin? He said, man, don't mess with him right now. Ask him about it tomorrow. So the next day, we were sitting down having coffee the next morning. And I said, Mr. Nappy Chin, how come you got mad at that man because he was trying to lock up his battery so nobody wouldn't steal it? I told that nigga not to buy no master lock. They used to, master lock out there started making slave shackles for our people back in the day. He said they used to have a sign all over the South. Buy a master lock. It is as though the master himself were guarding your slave. I said, what? And I never forgot that.